Shrapnel fly everywhere, in the land, in the water, and in the air. The living have long been sacrificed. Today we dream. We dream of a delta teeming with fish and diverse seafood. We dream of a delta with sparkling clean creeks, streams, rivers, and the sea. We dream of creeks that mirrored and echoed our joy. We dream of mangroves whose stately roots held our ground and brought us fish. We dream of days when we paddled to the tunes of beautiful songs. We dream of songs of health since replaced by songs of survival and death. 60 years ago, when oil was found in commercial quantity, there was joy and plenty of dreams sold on tales of shiny homes, hospitals, and schools. Regaled with tales of banishment of hunger and sundry value addition from hospitals. Dance, celebration, found wine, and sacrifice some good. We had no clue that we were right. The footprint of oil had already been stamped on this shore, but that oil was over and oil. When plans, slap jaws, and foreign merchants of business torn down a castle way back in 1890. Under the market, no sense of responsibility or accountability. Fast forward to 1995, and Gaza and the Trump cancer war. One of the songs and several more arrested, men, staff, at the pleasure of the government and the human, empowered by warlords that ultimately threw up warlords. The prophet declared the ecological assault on his community. He foresaw the days when Jerusalem would be in the dark, and the dogs have since come calling. You cannot hide all this by calling the soil or burning our forests and creeks. Once upon a time, Port Harcourt was a garden city, a place of gardens, of beauty, of a good life, and today, Port Harcourt is the suit city, covered by a blanket from black, from gas flares, decrepit refineries, by halos, bush decliner. Before COVID-19 social distance vanished and changed. Who could they shake hands, pointed by suit, those choked, long spear, you could have. The suit knows no geographic limits, while the mafia took their daily life and the security forces jointly smash and light their own fire. Annihilating our swamps and creeks. The suit suits no one. Is so adult suffocated. Babies are born ahead of time. Many die ahead of their time. Because some people think of cash and nothing about the people or the land. Because some folks care nothing of the fact that we all share the same toxic air. Sad, isn't it, that the NIGERDelta, once one of the cleanest places of planet Earth, has become one of the most polluted places on Earth. Gas flares, oil spill, well blow out, present production platforms and shit, rotten pipelines, as if responsible polluters are not cooperating, point oily fingers at the victim. While oil is siphoned in ocean-going vessels, they blame villagers who skim crude from the controls of the creek as medicine for conversion. Welcome to the NigerDelta, where thanks for the exploitation of fossil fuels and crass neglect, minerals And now, within festivals, as children become elders, because pollution has stolen their parents. But dreams don't die when they dream awake. Look at the horizon, we see hope. We see a once beaten people liberated, standing for self-determination. Breaking the cross of oppression, we see the length of hands and the stomping of feet to the rhythms of hope. As our mothers replant the mangroves, and the polluters decommission their death traps, and the periwinkles and oysters return, and the world wakes to the truth that the days of fossil fuels must now be fossilized. The NIGERIAN isn't a ecological highway. The bomb has already exploded, but we are here. The harms inflicted, repaired by a people determined to live on the land, in the water, and on the air. We are the living, long committed, to telling a story of resilience and self-determination. Morning comes after oil. The NigerDelta isn't a thinking ecological time bomb. The bomb has already exploded. Shrapnel fly everywhere, in the land, in the water, and in the air. They're living, swimming with fish, and ever sea. We dream of a delta with sparkling clean creeks, streams, rivers, and the sea. We dream of creeks that mirror and echo our joy. We dream of mangroves whose stately roots held our down and brought us fish. We dream of days when we paddle to the tunes of beautiful songs. We dream of songs of earth still played by songs of survival and death. 60 years ago, when all was found in commercial quantity, there was joy and plenty of dreams. Soul on tales of shining homes, hospitals, and schools. Regal with tales of the management of hunger and sundry value additions to our bustling habits. We danced, celebrated, poured our wine, and sacrificed some goods. We had no clue that we were the next in line in the sacrifice. The footprint of oil was over and over. With palms slapped on, foreign legends and mercenaries. Unfortunately, increased the middleman, exploited the market with no sense of responsibility or accountability. Fast forward to 1995, and the galleries of the Port Harcourt prison formed. I took into a ruler, the man, and all at the top of Goliath, and several more great men sat at the pleasure of the Japanese, the figures, empowered by warlords that ultimately threw up warlords. The prophet declared the ecological assault on his community. He foresaw the days when the polluters would be in the dump, and the dumps have since come calling. You cannot hide oil spills by turning the soil or burning our forests and creeks. Once upon a time, Port Harcourt was a garden city, a place of gardens, of beauty, of a good life. And today, Port Harcourt is a soot city, covered by a blanket of black hair, from gas plants, equipment refineries, and enormous bush refineries. Before COVID-19 social distancing vanished handshakes. Who could they shake hands? Quoted by suit, those joy, long sleeve, you could have no wisdom. The suit knows what the traffic limit, why the mafia stoked heavily fire, and the security forces jointly smash and light their own fire. Annihilating our swamps and creeks and streams. The suit suits no one. It's true. And don't suffocate. Babies are born ahead of time. Many die ahead of their time. Because some people about the future or the land. Because some folks care nothing of the past. And what should and anything and NIGERIAN once one of the cleanest places on the planet has become one of the most prolific places on earth. Gas flare, oil spill, well blowout, flaming production platforms and shit, dropping pipelines. As soon as possible, polluters and their collaborators point oily fingers at the victim. While oil is siphoned in ocean-going vessels, they blame villagers who skim crude from the surface of the creek. Medicine and conversion. Welcome to the Niger Delta, where thanks to the exploitation of fossil fuels and crass neglect, funerals, and now routine festivals, as children become elders because pollution has stolen their parents. But dreams don't die when we dream awake. Look at the horizon. Hope. We see a once beaten people liberated and for self-determination. Breaking the cross of oppression, we see the length of hands and the stomping of feet to the rhythms of hope. As our mothers replant the mangroves, and the polluters decommission their jet traps, and the periwinkle that oyster return, and the world wakes to the truth that the days of fossil fuel must now be fossilized. The bomb has already exploded, but we are here. The hands inflicted, repaired by people determined to live on the land, in the water, and on the air. We are the living, long committed, telling a story of resilience and self-determination. Morning comes after all. The Niger Delta isn't a
Good day to you from England. I'm very happy to have been invited to contribute to your meeting. I'm here to speak about an initiative that is happening across the world now, and that our organisation, Stop Ecocide International, is concerned with developing support for across the world and across many levels of society. And the initiative that we are working on is the criminalisation of mass damage to nature at the highest level, at the International Criminal Court. We aim to bring into being a new international crime of ecocide, which would criminalise unlawful or wanton acts committed with knowledge that there is a substantial likelihood of severe and either widespread or long-term damage to the environment being caused by those acts. We're often asked, what does ecocide mean? Broadly speaking, people understand it to mean mass damage and destruction of nature. But when people ask us for examples of what ecocide could be in reality, one of those that springs immediately to mind is the tragic situation that has been endured in your country for decades, the very, very serious pollution from the oil industry. Making ecocide an international crime would prevent similar situations from arising in future. It could intervene in the situation that you're suffering now. A few years ago, this conversation was not being held at government level anywhere in the world. Vanuatu, a small Pacific Island state, brought it to the attention of the International Criminal Court's Assembly back in 2019, where they recommended states to seriously consider adding ecocide to the list of international crimes. Just 2.5 years later, we're now in a position where over 20 countries that are member states of the International Criminal Court are discussing this, and it's on public record at parliamentary level and or government level in all of those countries. One of our representatives has just returned from Nairobi from the environmental law talks known as the Montevideo Programme, and she spoke to many representatives from African countries who were interested in this development. We believe it's possible that this law could be on the table for discussion within the next year or two, and potentially being ratified within the next few years. It would create a very strong legal tool for communities who are facing serious industrial intervention that can damage their living environment. And so we believe that it will be of great interest to Nigeria and to the communities of the NigerDelta. And we very much hope that you will watch with interest and support this growing movement globally to make those worst damages to nature crimes that can be answered for by individual people. And so it is really time for the global legal system to reflect a truth. And that truth is, if we damage Mother Earth, there are consequences. There are consequences ultimately for all of us. And that is what animates our movement to make ecocide an international crime. We deeply hope that it will be supportive of all your struggles, and that the world at large will come to realize very soon that we have to change our attitudes to the natural living world around us. Because without healthy ecosystems, we cannot survive. We can't eat, we can't drink, we can't breathe. One law may not be able to fix everything, but without a law like this in place, it's difficult to see how we can fix anything. It's time to acknowledge our responsibility to the earth and to each other, and to make ecocide a crime. Thank you so much. Good day to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're still working on the sound. As long as you can hear me from the back, you won't even notice that the main sound isn't working. I'll fix that in a jiffy. That was a message from one of our colleagues from the UK, from Jojo Mehta. She is the executive director of an organization called Stop Ecocide Foundation based in the United Kingdom. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we decided to play that goodwill message. We have a few others because of the sound difficulty. But since we have a little bit of sound, permit me to welcome you once again to this conversation. Before we get started, I will appeal to you that you all rise on your feet and we say the national prayer. The national prayer is the second stanza of the national anthem. Do we have anybody with a decent voice who can lead us? What a disaster. Okay, let's do it together. Oh God, oh. Thank you very much. You may be seated, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the NigerDelta Alternatives Convergence. We have crafted the NigerDelta Alternatives Convergence, and when I say we refer to the Health of Mother Earth Foundation with other front-ranking civil society organizations in the NigerDelta region, including academics in the region, socio-cultural and political groups in the region, people who care about the health and the survival of the NigerDelta region. We have crafted this as a space for the people of the region to sit together in brotherhood and sisterhood and have a very frank conversation about the issues that are emerging in the region and those threatening the survival of our people and our children yet unborn. By the end of today, you will have been convinced that there is ample reason for us to act in order to stem the tide that confronts the NigerDelta region. But before we continue, permit me to very quickly recognize the presence of our leaders and our fathers in the NigerDelta region. Permit me to first recognize the presence of the chairman of this occasion, His Excellency Obong Victor Attah, former governor of Accra, United States. Most welcome, Your Excellency. Permit me to also recognize the presence of Dr. Nimo Bassey. He is the Executive Director of the Health of Mother Earth Foundation. This is his initiative. I will not even dare go into his profile, multiple award winner, including the Rights Livelihood Award, which is considered globally as the alternate Nobel Prize, but this time around for the environment. Once again, Nimo Bassey. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, comrades, I wish to also recognize the presence of Professor G. Dara, an astute intellectual of the NigerDelta region. Let me also recognize the presence of His Royal Majesty Sarah Ibe, as I also come up to the high table. Yeah, Sarah, please come up to the high table. I also wish to recognize and call to the high table Professor Lucky Akarese, a professor of philosophy from the University of Port Harcourt. We are expecting the leadership of PANDEF, but permit me to recognize when the leadership of PANDEF, the chairman of PANDEF arrives, who will be called up to the high table, but please permit me to recognize also the presence of the PRO of PANDEF, our friend, brother, and colleague, Comrade. That wasn't a gunshot, relax. We're in the NigerDelta region, very possible. Recognize also the presence of Ken Robinson, who is a major facilitator of this conversation today. Permit me to also recognize and call to the high table our own dear traditional ruler from the Ikwere ethnic nationality in Rivers State, Comrade Chris Akani, who comes up to the table. I heard Nimo Bassey say at the back that there's no gender balance. We tried. We tried to create some kind of balance, it didn't quite work out. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us also invite to the high table another foremost traditional ruler of the NigerDelta region. Permit me to recognize and invite to the high table His Royal Majesty Amakri. He is the traditional ruler of Oroma community in Bayelsa State. Please to the high table, sir. Thank you so much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we should be taking at this time some goodwill messages from our friends and our colleagues, and permit me also to first recognize every person, civil society organization, socio-cultural groups, people of the NigerDelta region who have found time to mobilize and grace this occasion. We have in our midst invited a total of 225 people to this conversation. Physically, I was invited in 40 million people of the NigerDelta region to participate in this discussion. At the moment, on our Zoom link up there, we have got about 1,000 people who have registered to be part of this conversation. Understanding the need to have this conversation, a lot of people have written us asking for transcripts of this meeting, and we will send it to them. We expect that at the end of this discussion, we would have been able to come to some basic understanding about the challenges in the region, and we would have been able to craft a plan to respond to these challenges. Before I go to the next item, which is another remark, goodwill message from one of our partners who should have been here, but unfortunately could not make it. Please permit me to recognize one of ours, a front-ranking member of this organizing team, and also an illustrious son of the NigerDelta. Permit me to recognize the presence of Inoru Wills, who is former Commissioner of Environment in Delta State. Inoru Wills. Thank you. Bayelsa State, my apologies. Inoru Wills is from Bayelsa State. He's from the NigerDelta. Permit me to also quickly recognize the presence of the representative of the Akwa Ibom State Civil Society Forum. This is the umbrella body of all civil society organizations in Akwa Ibom State. It's important to recognize them because they are our host, Dr. Nsek Ogudo. Dr. Ogudo, please. Thank you so much, Dr. Nsek. Thank you for coming. Thank you, we're grateful. At this point in time, I will call on the media team. Are you ready? To quickly play us a speech, a very short speech from King Dakulu of Ekpetiaba community in Bayelsa State. He is a co-organizer of this event. He's been active all through, but unfortunately, his plans changed abruptly yesterday. His plans changed abruptly yesterday, and he could not be here with us today. We have that. Thank you so much. Our real sound is back. Thank you. Media team, are we ready?
Of Nigeria. We should wholeheartedly thank dear people of the NIGERDelta of Nigeria. We should wholeheartedly thank Reverend Nimo Bassey, elder of the Earth Foundation in particular, all the frontline civil society organizations, socio-cultural groups, and the team for positive change individuals in the NIGERDelta region who have collaborated and converged here at White Bridge Hotel, Uyo, Akwa State on this 23rd day of June 2022. The NigerDelta Alternatives Convergence and is 2022 the reality. Ladies and gentlemen, this is history being made right here. I believe that far-reaching decisions on the roadmap towards the quick and sure rejuvenation of the badly battered environment and people of the NigerDelta of Nigeria will be made at the end of the day. Let me reiterate that I am looking forward with lots of optimism, having our concerns, life-threatening concerns, which have been pushed away by the authorities of Nigeria and their international collaborators for so long, being fashioned into a clearly impactful single advocacy document, the Delta Manifesto for Socio-Cultural Justice. I am equally highly optimistic that at the end of the day, the leaders and people of our region, the NigerDelta region, will see the handwriting on the wall and not only identify with the manifesto, but support and drive popular advocacies for addressing the issues it will raise. As we all know, 66 years of reckless exploitation of oil and gas, the people of the NigerDelta of Nigeria have left the environment extremely polluted. People badly battered, and impoverished beyond what words in any of our local languages could ever easily describe. Another area of concern for me is the oil corporation's divestment, which is being done in a manner that will leave the environment replete with a short-time bomb of oil and gas spillages that would erupt from the countless worn-out installations that are everywhere in the creeks, land and water bodies waiting to happen. The high frequency of this ticking time bomb will, without question, worsen the pollution of the NigerDelta and invariably worsen our situation in all facets: health, conflict, education, hunger, anger, and of course, destitution. As it is captured in the riddle of the oil thief, it is when the oil companies have divested that the correlation between currently manifesting cancers and oil and gas exploitation would be established. With the perpetrators legally speaking gone, we may just be left to die off in groups, no one to hold responsible for our curse. I mean, what will happen to us when the IOCs have divested and left our communities, leaving huge liabilities in the hands of unsuspecting local firms which will not have the capacity to deal with it, with such sure to happen outcome. I believe we need to demand of the federal government to cause the IOCs to work with other agencies and the people of the NigerDelta to carry out comprehensive environmental evaluation of the state of pollution of the entire NigerDelta, draw a clear roadmap for cleanup before any divestment whatsoever. This way, we could at least live a little longer. We all know that as it stands today, the yield of our crops are at an all-time low. Our fisheries are similar. These are highly discouraging ways of any livelihood in the NigerDelta today, as our natural environment is only good enough for a highly hungry, angry, disappointed, and destitute. We are an otherwise wealthy set of people who have been made destitute by anti-people laws and practices aimed at achieving that examples. I believe that we all also know that the way and manner the oil and gas business in the region has been done over the years has made the people poor, prone to crime and conflict and disease, and so diseased. Diseases of all types, including cancers, HIV, AIDS, and others, are now prevalent in the region, with lots of people dying before their time. For instance, one could argue that we have been deliberately primed to die of any, because while the national life expectancy average is 54 years, in the NigerDelta it is unusually low, standing at 40 years, more than 10 years lower than the national average. No thanks to 7 decades of reckless oil and gas exploitation. Has anyone wondered why an area that first embraced formal education is today one of the regions with palpable poor education figures in the country? Have our political leaders helped in any verifiable manner? For instance, the interventionist agencies such as the NigerDelta Development Commission and the Ministry of NigerDelta Affairs, which were established as special purpose responses to the challenges in the region, have largely failed woefully after several years. Monies in multiples of trillions of Nigerian naira spent. What we see are abandoned, failed, phantom of substandard projects dotted everywhere. The available evidence is that these agencies, rather than serve us, serve political and economic interests outside the region. The Petroleum Industry Act is clearly another anti-people document. It is the largest in a series of efforts at legitimizing the pillaging and polluting of the NigerDelta whilst criminalizing the people of the region in the process. I believe this convergence will come up with an appropriate response to this document that does not look anyway like the Solid Mineral Act. Why should ours be different? His Royal Majesty King Bobare Dakolo, Agada IV in the North Potomac Kingdom, Bayelsa State. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was King Dakolo of the Eketiama Kingdom in Bayelsa State, sending us back all the way from Bayelsa State. We're going to move the microphone now to Dr. Nimo Bassey, who will give his welcome address. But before we do that, please do allow me to very specially recognize the presence of one of the intellectual bastions of the NigerDelta region is none other than Professor Sofiri Pittside, who joins us from University of Port Harcourt University. Dr. Sofiri, thank you so much. Reverend Nimo Bassey, are ready for us?
Good morning, brothers and sisters, friends, in-laws, patrons, and all who are assembled here. The chairman, sir, distinguished leaders of the NigerDelta region. It is a very, very big honor for us, for me as an individual, to stand before you this morning at this epic gathering. I count it an honor because I do know that you are coming here signifies the fact that you know the depth of the challenges facing our region, and you are ready to contribute to solving that problem. I have the confidence that working together, standing together, running together, fighting together, we will see victory for our people. Let me also especially welcome the young people who are here with us, because I do know that whatever elders do today has to be on behalf of the youth. And we need the youth to be at the forefront of the struggle for the emancipation of the NigerDelta. Because not just that the future belongs to you, today also belongs to you. Without a today, you can't have a tomorrow. Let me also at this time especially recognize the presence amongst us of the chairman of the DBO Elders Forum, in the person of our dear Dr. Emmanuel Akwanogon. He is by extension one of our hosts here, because we are in his territory. The NigerDelta territory is a territory under siege, and this siege did not begin today, neither did it begin yesterday. The siege had been prominent since the 15th century. The siege has disrupted our ways of living, our communities, our cultures, and even our spirituality. It has brought drastic disruptions in our relationship with nature and other beings that we share the planet with. This assault has also affected our concepts of living in harmony. Our peoples generally live in harmony with nature. In South Africa, they call the philosophy Ubuntu. Amongst us here in the Bible State, we can characterize that as Etuwe, meaning living the good life. Living the good life is not about how much money you have. It's about how well you relate with nature and relate with your neighbors. Am I communicating? We must not forget that once we were very organized, productive, and progressive nationalities, with moralities and commonalities that paralleled and exceeded that of other counterparts elsewhere in the world. At that time, farming yielded plentiful harvest before the downward spiral, and fishing was a great joy, as you've heard already in the goodwill message by King Dakolo, and I'm sure you're going to hear over and over today. We remind ourselves that the leaders of NigerDelta were never pushovers when the show came from the pre-colonial and colonial adventurers. You can read more about that in the draft manifesto, which we've circulated to every delegate. We're hoping that at the end of the day, you make your contribution. This is a living document. Make your contribution to the document, to the manifesto, endorse the manifesto, and insist that politicians seeking our votes should equally endorse this manifesto that speaks to the need for a socio-ecological transformation of our NigerDelta. In other words, if any politician doesn't endorse the fact that we must fight for our environment, we should know that that person is not fighting for our future. I don't need to tell about oil spills. We live the reality of oil spills. Blowouts, we've had blowouts over the years. Hundreds of thousands of barrels of crude oil spilled into our environment. Gas flaring has continued for 6 decades non-stop. And this is a direct gassing of our people and gassing of all the creatures that we share our territory. It is against our constitution, it's against our human rights, and it is an illegal activity. Yet it's been continuing even with a court order that was issued in November 2005. This is something that we must condemn and demand a halt on. Remember all the blowouts we've seen. I won't talk about that. And one of the things that concerns us, and which I believe we're going to hear today, we heard in the tribunal that held last night in this hotel about the environmental devastation of many communities in NigerDelta. The criminalization of our people is something that we have to object. In the past, they used to say the NigerDelta youths are resting. Where are youth not resting? But you know, you give us the wrong level so as to pin us down. And we have to reject and overturn such narratives. People must not be criminalized just because nature blessed us with such bountiful resources and beautiful environment. And we are expected to shut up and not speak up for our rights. But we speak up for our rights, it is not a reason to shut us up or to criminalize us. Right, I know this is going to be very busy today, so I'm running through a very long welcome address that I wrote. But we cannot say it too often that it's time for us to accept that without a healthy environment, we cannot have a healthy people. 64 years of oil extraction has brought untold misery and cut life abysmally low in our region. Things cannot continue this way. So we have demands and resolve, as I said, to demand that those who are in leadership position in this region must take environmental concern as a primary concern, as a primary issue. We have to rise to be counted, rise up to be counted, and demand that this should be so that there should be direct climate action to protect our communities and halt the swallowing off of our lands by the ocean due to sea level rise. Let us demand these actions and stand firm. Of course, request for and demand and fight for and demand the right to self-determination in diverse ways, ecological, social, economic, political, you name it. After 64 years of a nightmare, it is time to wake up. It is time to demand socio-ecological justice. We are not calling for charity from any sector. We are simply calling for justice. I want to thank the chairman of this Convergence, His Excellency, Obon Victor Atta, a man who has demonstrated impeccable leadership and wisdom. Thank you, sir, for being here with us today. It's not yet a vote of thanks, but let me thank our keynote speaker, Professor GTBANK, who has put aside a lot of activities to be with us today for what promises to be a rousing call for action based on knowledge. We have to act based on knowledge. We have to grow intellectual militants in NigerDelta. I want to thank all the academic activists and traditional rulers, community comrades, and all who will take the podium during this conference. Finally, dear brothers and sisters, are welcome to an exciting day that will give us the tools to struggle for a just future for our people. Welcome.
I think it is next a much louder round of applause. Thank you so much, Reverend Nimo Bassey. Thank you for that very profound welcome address, welcoming us to the NigerDelta Alternatives Convergence 2022. Just to say that every address you've heard here today, including that of Dr. King Dakolo and that of Dr. Nimo Bassey, will be on the NDAC website in 15 minutes. You can find the full details of the speeches online in the next 15 minutes. And that's the website up there, NDAC. And if you are tweeting, please use the hashtag NDAC 2022. NDAC 2022. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is that moment where we get the ball set and rolling. And it is my profound pleasure to hand the microphone over to the chairman of today's occasion. He is none other than His Excellency Obong Victor Atta, who will give us his opening remarks. Your Excellency, sir.
Good morning, Royal Highnesses, my dear brothers and sisters. I welcome you. It's a lot of enthusiasm, and I tell you why. For me to see this number of people coming out of concern for the Niger Delta, not minding the security risk on the road and everywhere else, believe me, it's really delightful to know that we are this concerned. My address or welcome address is very short, but before I read it, I'll tell you a small story. You'll understand why I'm so happy to see all of you here. I was a young practicing architect in Kebenya, and somebody from Akwa Ibom, police officer, was the commissioner of police, Kano, at the time, military head of state of Obasanjo was governing this. And he brought something called Operation Feed the Nation. And he promised that he would match naira for naira, whatever the vote for fertilizer was for that year, for every state in the federation. Of course, what Kano did was to just add 1 or 2 zeros and multiply 10 to become 100 and 100 to become 1,000, and they collected that amount of money. Because the commissioner of police has the privilege to attend council meetings, he called me and said, go home and tell them that this is what they've done. If they voted small amount of money, they increase the money because the government will give them. I rushed back home and relayed the message. But you know what I was told? Oh, they won't agree to do it for us. That was the attitude. We took it for granted that there were those who owned Nigeria who would do things for us, and it didn't matter what we thought, it just didn't matter to them. Thank God today the attitude is changing, and that is why we are here, and that's why I'm so happy. Now let me read my very short welcome address. The story of the Niger Delta region of Nigeria is a sad story of an automobile paradox. The opening sentence of the concept note for this conference brings out the stark cruelty of the paradox. And that sentence says, it is exactly 64 years since the commercial export of crude oil from the lands, rivers, and creeks of the Niger Delta began. In that period, the Nigerian state and its oil company partners have generated tremendous wealth. Conversely, the region has dropped significantly on all development indicators. So it is a painful paradox that the Niger Delta has. Our determination is that this narrative must change. I therefore thank the Health of Mother Earth Foundation for convening this dialogue with the aim of producing at the end a document to be titled NIGERDelta Manifesto for Socio-Ecological Justice. This document should point out where we have gone wrong in the past, provide a review of existing laws and policies that, in their application, directly impact the lives of the people of the region as well as its environment. I therefore expect our discussions today to be quite frank and robust. In the process, we must not lose sight of the fact that much as the ideal of total resource control has not yet been achieved, quite a large volume of money has been thrown at the Niger Delta region. through such benefit sharing systems and agencies as the Niger Delta Development Corporation, the Ministry for Niger Delta Affairs, the 13% derivation, and the host community trust fund, which has recently been introduced through the Petroleum Industry Act. We must be ready to ask and provide answers to such questions. Do we need new methods of administration? Do we need a complete system change? Do we need some form of consolidation of funds? Do we need new legislation? How do we ensure accountability? At the end, this convergence must bring about something new and beneficial to the long-suffering Niger Delta region. It is with this that I welcome you to this conference and wish you very happy celebration. Thank you for coming.
I think we deserve a louder one. That was His Excellency Obong Victor Atta, former governor of Akwa Ibom State, also the chairman of today's occasion, giving us those very profound opening remarks. And I take one thing from his opening remark. I take several things, but one is very important that we reiterate. That this should not just be another talk show, but we must leave here with something new, something profound, something decisive, something strategic, and something useful. Thank you so much, sir, for that very excellent opening remark. We are supposed to take an opening remark now from the president, the chairman of PANDEF. He's not here yet. We're still expecting that if he doesn't show up on time, we will have the PR of PANDEF speak to us. But moving forward very quickly, it's important at this point in time that we take a few goodwill messages from our partners, friends, and colleagues who have found the time to join this conversation today. In no particular order, permit me to call some of our people to give us very short 1-minute solidarity messages expressing their support for the process here. Permit me to first call on the leader of the Ishekiri Leaders of Thought, who will step up and address us for a minute. The solidarity message, typically wishing the convergence well. Oh, I didn't need to see, sir. Can we have a round of applause to steps up? Thank you so much, sir, for coming. Thank you.
Chairman of occasion. I stand on protocols already established by the Master of Ceremony. I am Chief Edward Epoko, Chairman of Leaders of Thought. I bring you greetings from the Leaders of Thought. And indeed, with the permission of my elder brother, who is the Professor Karisi, from the entire Ishekiri ethnic nationality. As a matter of fact, when Ken Henshaw, we had a discussion on this thing, and as I arrived yesterday, I was shown the manifesto, which I went through all night. And I can tell you that the Ishekiri of Thought, the entire Ishekiri nation, are in support of all that is contained in that manifesto. We assure you of our support in order to actually bring all that is contained in that manifesto to fruition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We next wish to call on, permit me to call on Dr. Emmanuel Akpanobong, who is the Adaga Ibibio of the Ibibio Elders Forum. Forgive me, sir, for not recognizing you earlier. This is to recognize him and also call him to give us a solidarity message. Dr. Emmanuel Akpanobong. Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I give you the greetings of Ibibio people, and also to welcome all delegates to Akwa Ibom State. Ibibio people are very happy with this conference and will identify all the things we discuss here and then contribute to the manifesto. The paradox of NigerDelta development has been very clear to all of us, and it is a concern of the Ibibio people, that the people that are so well endowed are still living in abject poverty. For reasons we are still going to discuss today, and for suggestions we are going to make the way forward. We are very, very worried that IOCs that have been exploiting in our environment are beginning to invest and sell their assets and leave our territories. ExxonMobil in particular has surreptitiously sold its assets out without even the courtesy of informing the state government and the people of Akwa Ibom State. We want to say that this conference and similar conferences should stimulate us to be ready to get ourselves engaged in all legislative processes. The petroleum, the PIA that we were waiting for years, believing that once it is passed into law, it will bring salvation to our people. Perhaps because of our inadequate participation in the processes, what has come out today, what we are seeing, is not likely to bring solution and support to the oil commodities. These are some of the things we think this conference has the capacity to generate solutions and give us a direction on how to collectively pursue these matters. Once again, I want to welcome you to Akwa Ibom State, and I assure you, you are going to have comfortable and peaceful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to also call on the leadership. The microphone will certainly go this way very shortly. Permit me to also call on the leadership of the Frontiers for Peace and Unity. It's a socio-cultural organization based in Oron in Akwa Ibom State. Permit me to call Mr. Brave Nsonwara, who will give us a 1-minute solidarity message from the Frontiers for Peace and Unity. Mr. Brave. I think it deserves a louder one.
Good day, everyone. Mr. Chairman, member of the High Table, distinguished guests, I am Brave Nsonwara, and I am Frontier for Peace and Unity, Akwa Ibom State. And of course, Frontier for Peace and Unity is a group whose major interest is to clamor for peace, unity, and progress in the land. And we actually found in NigerDelta, we intend to move beyond that. So we have over 40 members in the state, and I'm here to let you know that the group is in support of the manifesto, and has declared our support totally, and we'll give all that it takes to ensure that we have good deliberation and then conclude effectively. And let me just quickly tell us, I drove to Port Harcourt to Akwa Ibom this morning. It took me over 3 hours. And you can imagine what the distress looks like. From Eleme Junction down to Onel is a major disaster. How can you explain that to a people that produce the resource of the nation, that they cannot drive through their communities? I'm not talking about what happens in other areas, but I assure you, and I pray that in the end, we will have the best of the nation for our people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis Ora. That's just one of the few issues that confront us as a region. And thank you also all the people who have rendered solidarity messages for keeping to the time of 1 minute. Next, permit me to welcome Mr. Dike Nwankwo. Mr. Dike Nwankwo will be speaking for the Ukwa Grassroots Liberation Network. It's the foremost social cultural organization in Ukwa local government area of Abia State. And that is the only oil producing part of Abia State. Mr. Dike Nwankwo, please.
Mr. Chairman, sir, the former governor of Akwa State, all members, revered members of the high table, fellow participants in this conference, you're all welcome. My name is Dike Nwankwo from West Local Government Council. I represent Ukwa Grassroots Liberation Network, the social political and advocacy group. I may interest this conference to know that Ukwa West is the only oil-producing local government in the whole of Abia State. And I want to especially thank the organizers of this conference for extending this invitation, because over time, Abia State is not usually invited for discussions on oil and gas. And perhaps I know our presence here today will give us another vista of hope that in every conversation surrounds the oil and gas, Ukwa will be invited. I want to associate with this conversation because it is a growing concern that we keep talking about the NigerDelta, talking about the challenges that surround the oil and gas, but nothing serious happens. Even when governments make efforts, like the intervention agency, like the NDDC, in the case of Abia State, to have what we call the super deck, nothing comes from it. Many of you are conversant with the Abia State from River State, even the Abia State from the Akwa Ibom State. They are not passable as we speak right now. And these are challenges that we have been bearing and looking for ways to ventilate, ways to talk about them. I am very happy to be here and to associate myself with this. One of the major challenges which I want to drop here before I get back to my seat is that because Ukwa is the only local government that produces oil, attention is rarely given to her. Even when the state government established what they call a super deck, deriving her fund from the 30% of the 13% derivation, that fund does not get to the people. It is, we can't feel anything from the government from that office. Rather, the office now serves as another conduit for the administration. You know, even when projects are cited, you can't find these projects in Ukwa. Even in NDDC, for example, yeah, granted that Ukwa people represent NDDC in the board as a state rep, but we also do find that in other states, projects are littered in the entire state, but not much is found in Ukwa West local government. It is my thinking that in this conversation, please let us always carry Ukwa West along. It is becoming a challenge. It's becoming a challenge. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dike Nwankwo. Thank you. I have been to Ukwa local government area several times, conducted researches there, and I can tell you that, just like you said, you feel no impact of 13% derivation or the presence of the NIGERDelta Development Commission. Thank you, Mr. Dike Nwankwo. Permit me to very quickly also call on Mr. Celestin Akpobari. Celestin Akpobari will be giving us a goodwill message from the Ogoni Solidarity Forum. Celestin is not only the foremost civil rights activist in the NigerDelta region, but he is also one who has made profound contributions to the region. Celestin Akpobari, please. Celestin Akpobari will give us the solidarity message in 1 minute.
Good morning, comrades, and welcome to this very big gathering. Like the former governor of Kwara State said, it's a thing of joy to see that in spite of the insecurity in NigerDelta and every other part of the country, that you come from their different locations just to make a better future for our people, discuss issues that concern. I'm an Ogoni man. Our stories have been told and amplified over and over and over again. I'm not sure there is any other ethnic nationality in this country that has suffered the kind of injustice, deprivation, oppression, marginalization that the Ogoni people have suffered. There is no other ethnic group in Nigeria whose leadership have been marched and pushed to the gallows and brutally murdered just for asking that the environment should be better. You're not asking for anything that people are not already enjoying abundance. Those that didn't have nothing to do with oil. And so whenever meetings like this are called, it gives me joy because it means that those that died really didn't die in vain. If that people see, they would have known, and they will know wherever they are, that they didn't die in vain. That the Ogoni oil is still in the soil since the murder of Cancer over 1995 shows that struggle is alive. And whenever we gather like this, we push the oppressors further backward, even without carrying guns, even without firing a shot. Our gathering alone, as harmless as we are, puts fears into them. Like Reverend Nimo said in the video that was played there, children of yesterday have become elders of today because pollution took away their fathers. One thing we will do from this meeting and from this gathering is to ensure that the spaces where people have not stolen our oil, that they did not know, judging from what have happened in Yomoche and Ogoni, and to further ensure that places where we have shut them out, like Ogoni, that there is no re-entry for whatever reason. Even if it needs having the next convergence in Ogoni land to prove that point, we'll do it. Thank you, and God bless all of you for coming.
Thank you so much, Comrade Celestin Akobari. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, we permit us to call on the representative of Akwa Ibom Civil Society organizations, that is the representative of Akwa Ibom Civil Society Forum, Dr. Nsebong, to give us a solidarity message. Dr. Nsebong, please. A louder round of applause will help us speak for 1 minute. It seems unanimous from the high table that the only woman who is speaking should speak for 1.5 minutes. Madam, you have got 90 seconds. Thank you so much.
Your Excellency, Chairman of the occasion, and distinguished members of the high table. I was waiting to be forgotten so I can complain. Unfortunately, he did not. And I want to put record straight that it is wrong not to have a female seated here. Traditionally, socially, academically, we have women in this area. I'm also part of panel, an organo that we have women. And they have enough. And then the 7 primary concerns of NEAC, if you look at them well, it's the women that suffer most in all those 7. I don't say the men, but we suffer more. So it should be very gender friendly. So I'm so grateful to be here, sir, and I'm happy this is being held in Akwa Ibom State, and all of us are able to come. As civil society in Akwa Ibom State, we try to do the best we can. But for this purpose, civil society in Akwa Ibom State have decided there's a need to design mediation tools to use to broaden participation in peace negotiation in the region. Because without this peace, whatever we are going to try to profile today might not see the light of the day. So as civil society, we're going to support the cause of everything that is decided to do, take it back home, do it in our own way, go down to the grassroots and make sure it is adhered to. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you very much. Another 1 minute solidarity message. Please permit us to call on the representative of the Ethic Leadership Foundation, Barrister Timothy Esu, who will speak for 1 minute. These solidarity messages are very important because it tells all of us that we're not here alone. The manifesto is far-reaching and it is supported by a wide range of stakeholders. Barrister Esu.
Thank you, sir. Your Excellency, the chairman of this August Convergence, every other eminent gentleman on the high table, compatriots, solidarity greetings from the Efok Leadership Foundation. The Efok Nation is actually a major beneficiary of the adverse effect of the ceding of the Bakassi Peninsula to the Cameroon. Consequent loss of its littoral status, and of course 76 parallels to our sister state, Akwa Ibom. However, we are not deterred because we are still part of the NigerDelta, hence our attendance in this occasion. We greet you because, towing from Dr. Nimo's speech, it says we should wage an intellectual battle against our suppressors. And we are going to further push them back, going by my elder brother's statement from Ogoni. We are only going to do that in solidarity, and that solidarity consider ELF to stand with us at whatever time we shall synergize or individually to write and ensure that our voices are heard. Greetings from our chairman, Dr. Richard Duke, who is far away from here. Thank you very much. We are together in this.
Thank you very much, Barrister Timothy Esu. I'm just wondering, does everybody have a copy of the draft NIGERIAN manifesto for socio-ecological justice? This document, what a shame. Please, take these copies and distribute. Everybody will get a copy in 3 minutes. It was supposed to be in your packs. We made over 300 copies, so please need to go around right now. Check your packets. If you haven't checked well, check first before you take another one. It's also online, of course. Please feel free to go to the website, click on the link, and you can download it. And there's also a portal there for you to endorse the manifesto digitally. We also have a register that will be given after tea break, where you feel free to endorse the manifesto also. Mr. Wale is raising it up now. Yes. There's a register that will be passed across for those who believe in the ideas contained in the manifesto to also endorse it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please call any of the ushers, the people wearing white and black, to give you a copy of the manifesto. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to take the microphone to this end so that members of our very distinguished high table can provide their own brief solidarity messages. And just to tell you that each and every one of them has got a role to play in this conversation, and they will be handling the microphone once again. So these solidarity messages from them will be super brief. I cannot tell my fathers the time they will speak for, but I know that my fathers know that we are pressed for time. Thank you very much. Permit me to begin with His Royal Majesty Amakri.
Chairman of the occasion, distinguished rulers and academics. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all fortunate to be here today, to hear directly from those who have been in this business for years. I got involved in this NIGERIAN struggle since 2005, and since then, we have been on working with various bodies to ensure that our dreams come true, our dreams for the NIGERDelta come true. When you go out there, we're all NIGERDeltans, of course. So if you go out there, you see what is obtained. And sometimes you cry. You cannot fight, so the only thing you can do is to talk. So when we have the opportunity to talk, we talk. And I think this is one of such opportunities. If I hear and hear well, what it means is that the international oil companies, in conjunction with our government, has fully exploited, or rather has exploited NIGERDelta to the extent they want to, and they are going to abandon us. Now, going away from us is not a problem, because the land is ours, so one of these days they must do for us. But the problem we have is, how are they living after the devastation? What are the programs put in place to return the environment back to the way they met it? Those are the issues. So when you think of these issues, you begin to worry about everything that has happened in the NIGERDelta. There's a common slogan we used to talk here, that some projects, they call them legacy projects. Legacy projects for me means that they are promises that have not been fulfilled. You promised somebody you want to do this, you couldn't do it. And at the end of the day, you kept postponing the timeline. And now you say you want to leave. What of those legacy projects? They've been taken care of. If we are stakeholders, like the companies would want us to believe, then will they go without first consulting us to hear our own side? As a stakeholder, you are supposed to have an input to whatever is happening in that place that you are a stakeholder. But here we are just being told that they are going, like somebody pointed out, maybe to companies that may not have the ability to undo what they have done. So these are the problems, and these are the issues we have in the NIGERDelta. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming, and I'll appreciate highly if we are able to look at these issues closely and get solutions for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Majesty. Thank you very much. That was an endorsement and solidarity from the Uruma Kingdom in Bayelsa State. Permit me to move very quickly to Professor Lucky Akarese of the Department of Philosophy, University of Port Harcourt, the foremost leader of the Shekiri Nation, who will also give us his solidarity message. Professor.
Well, Mr. Koko that actually represents the Shekiri, who I'm older than him, has actually made his own statement on behalf of the Shekiri in terms of espousing. But what I will add is that there might be some little additions. The organizers, I would seriously appeal that the panel document, there are certain aspects of it that we need to incorporate. For that document here, Dr.
Kwan was there, member of Central Working Committee. Ken was there. Sarah Igba was there. Digida was there. It was His Excellency's house in Abuja. Was hosting us for about a month where we were preparing that document. There was a lot of intellectual investment in that document. It encapsulates so much about the Niger Delta. So I would strongly suggest, for example, the call that all oil companies, their corporate headquarters should be in their headquarters should be in their areas of operations. We recall here that you see our tragedy is much. Our tragedy, the tragedy of Niger Delta peoples, I always use the word peoples. That's not pretend about it. It's much. Akwa Ibom hosted the vice president. Ken was present, I was present, they were here, and the vice president made a proclamation, then acting president at that material time, that all headquarters of oil companies should now move to the operational areas up till today. You see, nobody even listened to him. And himself is not serious about it. And I still want this document to reflect that. It's still very important. So that we can be able to appreciate our tragedy. That tragedy is much. But at times, in my personal reflection, I continue to wonder, what is the future of this region? Because besides His Highness here, everybody on this table this way, I have organizational relationship with them. Dara was like his apprentice in the 70s, as he was a lecturer in Ife, I was a student. And from there till now, we are on. His Excellency, I just told you, it was his house, we were holding meetings over NigerDelta. Nimo Bassey will be on, who work for International IGF, toward the whole of NigerDelta in early 2000. Sarah Igba, you will see, because of his mustache, you can always recognize him when you see him on television. We've always been meeting. Christian Akani, during the period of Kansaruwa, we shared the same cell with Kansaruwa. We worked together with Kansaruwa seriously. While he was in prison, while he was in military camp, all of us will smuggle and take the risk and see him. But the problem I'm having, who replaces us? Because the younger ones that I'm seeing, the future seems bleak. Let's tell ourselves the future seems bleak. That's Ken here. Was a student like apprentice I was to Dara, was like apprentice to me. But the younger ones we are seeing today, what's our future? And I think we must always recognize this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Loki Akarose. Yes, I was his apprentice. Professor Loki Akarose taught me philosophy in the University of Port Harcourt. Every time he speaks, I see a new dimension to what he taught me. Thank you so much, sir, for being true and loyal to the region. Thank you so much, sir. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I will skip Professor Gigi Dara. I will also, yes, and skip also Your Excellency, and skip Reverend Nimo Bassey, and go straight to His Royal Majesty Sarah Ibe, who speaks next. A round of applause, please.
Chairman, Excellency, members of the high table, my fellow comrades, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by thanking the organizers of this occasion, their foresight in bringing us together. Iyo is becoming very significant in the Niger Delta struggle. I remember the Niger Delta dialogue started there, which led to the establishment of PANDEL. We're here today to discuss the environment of the Niger Delta. You said, the organizer said, I have some other role to play. So this is not the time for me to speak. I've gone through the manifesto, and I think there are a lot of additions to be made on that manifesto when we get to that time. But once more, I thank you. I think it is time for us to open our minds and look at the issue of Niger Delta with all our heart. I stand to be corrected. The problem of Niger Delta is caused by the NigerDelta themselves. I keep on saying this every forum and every time, starting with our governors, our ministers, and those who are in authority. Today, the Minister of Petroleum is from NigerDelta. The companies are divesting. The PIA was defined by the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. Our daughter was there, started the process with Yar'Adua. Immediately Yar'Adua died. Our son became president and forgot to pursue that process. Today we have the hydrogenated PIA, which we are going to discuss today. The 30% derivation is another thorny issue, and I continue to maintain that our governors, past and present, must be held accountable to how they spend our 30% derivation. I don't care who ox is gross, but I still believe if 30% derivation is implemented effectively to develop the oil-bearing communities, today the oil-bearing communities will be Dubai. I thank His Excellency, who was among the forefront to fight Obasanjo to ensure that 30% was implemented. They went to the court, and the court had to interpret that law. And ever since then, we have been getting 30%. Where is the 30%? It's a major question we need to ask as a people. If we don't ask and hold them accountable, nobody will hold them accountable. They made us believe that federal government is a problem. But in all my struggle in NigerDelta, I come to realize federal government has done so much for NigerDelta. Look at the NGDC. The amount of money invested in NGDC is more than what was used to build Dubai. Today, Dubai is the tourist center of the world. And we don't have a city like the NigerDelta we can compare to even Abuja. So our problem, who manages the NigerDelta NGDC? Are they not NigerDelta sons? They are our sons. Who manage the governors? They are our sons. The ministers, they are our sons. They are to represent us in the Federal Executive Council. How far, how well have they represented us? The oil companies are divested. What is their role? At the Federal Executive Council or as state governors, have they been able to hold them accountable for their environmental destruction of the NigerDelta? These are the reasons why I continue to hold them accountable. But when we come to the intricacies of the matter, we will look at the issues and address them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I really hope that when it comes to the nitty-gritty of the matter, and the nitty-gritty will be when His Royal Majesty Sarah Igbe responds to the keynote. It's the first intervention from the keynote address that will be presented by Professor Gigi Dara. Sarah Igbe will be back, and His Majesty will tell us some home truths, some further home truths. But at this point, permit me to call one of us, comrade in the struggle, who has done tremendous work in the NigerDelta region and who is now a traditional ruler of NIGERIAN. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome to give 1 minute or, as it pleases, solidarity message. Solidarity message on behalf of the Query ethnic nationality. I call on His Royal Majesty Dr. Chris Akane.
Excellency, Brutus told Julius Caesar, the work of Shakespeare, Julius Caesar, you can't do your back. But the downside, you cannot see your back. My Excellency, when you were on top there, who were your admirers, but they didn't see us because you cannot see your back. I'm happy today to see you and even have the honor to shake your hand. Thank you very much. On behalf of Professor Emil Kewai, the President General of Obaki Equatorial Cultural Organization Worldwide, I want to greet all of you and to tell you that equatorial ethnic nationality cannot deviate 1 inch from what is happening today and from the problems of NigerDelta. We are always with you, night and day, because some of the problems that are raised here and that are taking place in NigerDelta, the bottom part is equatorial ethnic nationality. Is it in land, on the waters, waterways, or the environment? As my brother Chief said, when we are going to discuss it in the plenary section, all the nitty-gritties will be dissected. But I want to say that I'm very happy for this conference. When we are come a meeting, we get the formula. Nimo Bassey of the late 20th century. You see this, the same Nimo Bassey in the 21st century. We have to learn a lot from him. And Prof. Digidara, each time I consult NigerDelta, I consult his book. He has been there with us, and even in the Association of Nigerian Authors. Thank you. I don't need to mention Professor Akarasi. Let me also inform you that in 1992, in the struggle for NigerDelta, I and Professor Noki stopped the River State government from celebrating the October anniversary. But I want to say that what our Excellency said about is when he was in Kano, somebody told him, my own conclusion is that we are always taking things for granted. And that is part of our problem. And the North will not agree. President will not agree. And therefore, we condemn our consciousness. At the end of the day, they will not agree, we will do nothing. We have to say, if you don't agree, we will agree. Permit me to quote the communique of the fifth Pan-African Conference, which took place in Manchester. African nationalists were so worried that enough is enough. After all, no person can be giving his or her fundamental human rights on a platter of gold. And in that communique, which many people say was written by Kwame Nkrumah, if the whites continue to rule us by force, Africans will not have any alternative than to liberate themselves by force. Unquote. Enough is enough. Second, like what Professor Loki said, some of the phrases I used to see in the early 21st century, I'm still seeing them. We should engage in a rigorous process of mentorship. So that when we go, like our Excellency is aging, who will replace him? We need students. We need our youth. They should not be carried away by the plumes of politics. What we get, a little thing you get from the side of their mouth, will not take it tomorrow. We should invite them to know the main problems of the NigerDelta. And finally, like what Rodney said, we should continue to be grounded with our brothers, so that those people that are exploiting us, they will know that we are not tired. If they're not tired of exploiting us, we will not be tired of expressing our annoyance in any way, either by shouting, either by talking, by having conferences, or even by having protest marches. And if possible, if your destiny is to exploit me until I die, why would you not engage in armed struggle? It's not an offense. Nelson Mandela said, when a man is pushed to the wall, there are two alternatives. Either you succumb or you fight back. Are we going to succumb? No. We will fight back. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, His Majesty, Dr. Chris Akane. We will take another round of solidarity messages after, well after. But permit me to take one very important one which I had missed earlier. And it's a solidarity message from the Urobo Progressive Union, one of the ethnic nationalities in the Niger Delta Basin, Delta State. And to speak for the Urobo Progressive Union, permit me to welcome Mr. Otuko Aradowe. It's spelled Aradowe, but it's Aradowe. I'm pretty sure of that. Mr. Otuko, thank you so much for joining us.
Your Excellency, Obon Victor Atta, Professor Gigi Dara, Dr. Nimo Bassey, and all your excellencies, there's so much in our economic, social, cultural, and environmental security. It is because they want to keep us in check so that the transfer of our oil wealth and our gas wealth to Abuja and to the economic capitals of the country will flow seamlessly. We, on behalf of Urobo Progress Union, President General Olorogu Dr. Oganerume Moses Tiger, we want to show full solidarity with the document that has been presented by this conference. I recall in October 17, 2020, Professor Gigi Dara and Dr. Nimo Bassey were in Jese, Delta State, to mark the 22nd anniversary of the roasting of 1,093 human beings that occurred in 1998 in Jese, Delta State. Till date, Urobo people have been crying for justice for those innocent lives caught in that inferno, and no justice. No listening ear has been given. Urobo people have over 400 oil wells, Utorogu gas plants, but even in the community where the gas plant is located, that provides power for African countries far and near, communities there have no access to power, no electricity, no good roads. We fully identify with the struggle of the Niger Delta Alternatives Convergence. And as Dr. Nimo said, it is an opportunity to raise or to advance new intellectual attention to the struggle of the Niger Delta. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we may probably have another round of solidarity messages, but I will sincerely, I will advise you, no, before my advice, let me say that we have the hall is full. We have an overflow at the top, and there are chairs at the top. So if you are standing, please go to the overflow at the top. In fact, you have a better view at the top than here. That's one. Number two, permit me to very quickly recognize the presence of some of our distinguished Niger Deltans in our midst today. Unfortunately, we are pressed for time. We still have one solid solidarity message to take, which will be done after the next presentation, and that will be for PANDEF. If the PANDEF chairman hasn't shown up till then, our brother and friend, the PR of PANDEF, Ken Robinson, will take that solidarity message, though Ken has other roles to play in this conversation. We will take the keynote presentation. After that, Inuru Wills will After we are done with the break, the Nuru Wills will come and start the next session with a 15 to 20 minutes highlight of the critical issues facing the Niger Delta region at the moment. It is it's a profound advice from me that you pick up your green bags now, take out your notepads, make sure your pen is working, because we'll have a lot of notes to take as we call on the distinguished Professor G. Dara, who will be speaking to us, who will be presenting our keynote address today on the imperatives of a new regional socio-ecological framework. Pretty much the type of things you've seen in the NIGERDelta manifesto. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers, sisters, and comrades, please a round of applause as we welcome Professor G. Dara. Your Majesty, the Chairman, for the high table, those of you on the high table, comrades in the struggle. I identify with all the aspirations expressed so far and thank the organizers for creating this new parliament for our people to map a new direction for the region. I am also very delighted that from the speeches made by our chairman, His Excellency Abovik Tata, the one made by Nimo Bassey, and the intervention by their Royal Majesties, as well as solidarity messages, I'm very delighted that we have collectively delivered the keynote address. So clap for yourself, clap for yourself. I would like to just explain some aspects that will help us to design a new exit from the present problem that we are facing. The first thing I want to observe is that we seem to assume that the federal government of Nigeria is on our side. That assumption is wrong. The federal government of Nigeria is the number one enemy of the Niger Delta. I try to relate it to what is happening now at the political level as a kind of background to help us formulate the things we will do for ourselves. What is happening now everywhere is agog. Political parties are holding conventions, they are nominating candidates, news media, social media, everybody's restless. And I looked at the names of the parties, and the names of the candidates represent one single aspiration. Those political parties and their candidates are anxious and desperate to become president of Nigeria because there's NigerDelta oil to steal. The reason why they are all aspiring to become president is because there's NigerDelta oil for them to squander and plunder. You can see it from the methodology they adopt, from the way the conventions were held, and the new phenomenon of what we call delegates. In English, to delegate means to give authority to somebody to go act on your behalf.
But just see what happened to delegates in the past 1 month. Their status completely transformed. Delegates became desperate emergency millionaires. Where did that money come from? Where did that money, all those dollars that were being given out, all those dollars did not come from industry, it didn't come from productivity, did not come from fishing. The money came from the oil of NigerDelta. So, what this means is that the political structure, the political system in the country, reflected in the political parties, whatever name they bear, they are all organized for the purpose of taking control of the oil money of NigerDelta. And as His Excellency Itata whispered to us, to share it among the friends of the president. That is their singular purpose. From there, you take the next step of analysis. If these parties, whether they are PDP or LDP or APC or Camel, Queen or Aspirin, whatever name they bear, I am saying that those parties are organized gangs to loot, plunder, and pillage NigerDelta resources. If you have the misfortune of reading any of their manifestos, you will hardly see any mention of the issues we are all talking about now. They will not even bother to mention it. They will be talking about the price of oil, that it should increase. It is $110 now, today. And the production from our soil will be 2 million barrels today. Just do your arithmetic, it's not mathematics. Multiply 2 million times 110. Do it and whisper it to me, I will use it in my analysis. That is the country that we are in. Therefore, we must assume that whatever government comes into office in 1923 will not be different from the one that came into office in 2019 or 2015, back to Goodluck Jonathan and back to 1960 of Tafawa Balewa. Nigeria has been arranged in the past 60 years for the purpose of stealing our resources and then recycling into other parts of the country, which we call, as you know, there are only 10 states in Nigeria that contribute money to what is called Federation account. That account, the commissioners of finance from the 36 states plus Abuja, they go to Abuja once a month to go and do sharing of that money. And only 10 states contribute that money. These states, you know them. If you take it alphabetically, it starts from Abia, then goes to Bayelsa, and Cross River, and then Delta, and then Edo, and then Imo. Akwa Ibom, after Abia. Akwa Ibom, where we are at least with the effort and initiative and courage and radicalism of Governor Atta, at least we can see the evidence in Uyo here now. This place is looking very like the small Abuja of NigerDelta. Okay, clap for the man. Man. Imo State, Lagos State is one of them because of the seaports, and River State, 10. They have been doing it for the past 40 years. All the other 26 states in Nigeria and Abuja, federal capital, they are parasites, economic parasites. It's very serious matter. If you don't see it from that perspective, you would think they are your friends. Those 26 states that are living on our blood, that have driven pipelines into our territory. The pipelines are 6,000 kilometers long that carry the oil. If you stretch those pipelines in a straight line, it will, from Cairo to Cape Town in South Africa, 6,000 kilometers of pipeline plunged into the belly of our territory. And they are running, as we are talking now, the oil is flowing to where it will be exported overseas. It has happened like this since 1958. The oil was found in a library in 1956, February 23. But the export of crude oil started 2 years later, 5,000 barrels. It started in 1958. Since that date, till where we are speaking now, these 6,000 kilometers of pipeline have been draining and diverting and plundering and pillaging and wait it. And we are still asking about how to be patriotic to armed robbers. They have anticipated me. How to conclude? You cannot be patriotic and sympathetic to an organization called Nigeria, whose single purpose of existence is to plunder and kill NigerDelta. When we were in secondary school and we did geography, our teachers used to say, when we were talking about Egypt, they would say, no Nile, no Egypt. No river Nile, no Egypt. That's the big river that makes Egypt to survive. You can translate that thing and domesticate it here now. Without NigerDelta, no Nigeria. And then we are asked to be sympathetic and applaud. So I am stating that all the presidents, heads of state, whether military or civilian, including those who are elected, including our own son, Dr. Jonathan, all of them who occupy that post, they occupy it for the purpose of perpetuating that blunder. If it were not so, during the time that Jonathan was president, it means we have occupied the highest post in the country. And he spent 6 years there. None of these laws that we have stated in this manifesto now, none of them was improved upon. None of them. There was no increase in derivation. The derivation was 30%. Those who fought for it, some of them are here on this table. At the conference in Abuja, organized by Abacha, 1994-95. Our delegates then, even more radical than our governors now, insisted that unless they got 25% as derivation, Nigeria will cease to exist. Kurubutu Abacha, he was determined to become life president of Nigeria. And he cannot be life president unless he has the charge of oil. The reason why the coup was organized is because of the oil. And here, NigerDelta militants arrived in the conference, all the leads, Chief Okrika and others. Some of them are here. And insisting that unless they got 25% derivation, Nigeria will break to pieces. I'm giving you this background because up to 1994, it was zero derivation. Zero derivation. By 92, President Babangida increased it to 3%. and then created what is called upper deck, and said that 3% should go to fund upper deck, and made Hosfor, NIGERIAN man, to chairman it. All those positions are irrelevant. Because if you hold any of those positions, you hold it on behalf of the president in Abuja. It is what he wants that you do. And what did the upper deck suffer? They refused to release funds to it. The money was flowing, no, they didn't give to it. At the end, our anger was with Hosfor. They make sure that they give this seat to your people, then you get angry with your own people. And you don't remember them. It is absolute witchcraft. So they raised it to 3%, which after some years, we just gave up. Waiting for the next one. You can replace upper deck with NDDC if you like. It's the same story. They gave it to a man. The first chairman was somebody who worked in Shell. He was the first black person to be MD of Shell. They messed him up. The chairman at that time, I think Oyema Igochukwu was chairman of NDDC then. He said he was there on behalf of President Olusegun Obasanjo, who come from that rocky place called Abeokuta, contribute nothing to the economy. He was head of state 2 times. He wanted to be head of state 4 times. All for oil, according to Professor J.P. Clark. All these ambitions, all these massacres, all these killings, all this environmental pollution, all of it, all this wickedness that will prevent them from people getting near the gate of heaven, all is because of oil. So I've traced it up to Jonathan now. Jonathan is like a dog, like a saint, if you know him. When he became president, he had no capacity whatsoever or courage to even touch all these injustices. The most prominent and the most cruel is section 44, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution. That section says that all oil, all gas found in Nigeria, wherever it is found, underground, on top of the ground, or in the air, or below the waters. The revenue, the oil wells, the gas wells, as well as the revenue, belong to the federal government of Nigeria. Even apartheid South Africa, their laws were not as bad as this one. We've been living with it since 1995. When it was agreed, 30% was brought to at least mediate and moderate it. And I said it's our delegates who won that battle in 94-95. They insisted on 25%. And then when everybody voted against them, Yoruba, Southeast, North, and they staged the walkout in Abuja, a conference collapsed. Abacha was now in a frenzy. I'm going to be head of state for life, and these people are going to stop me. Okay, Yaradua, go ahead the committee and negotiate with these militants on NigerDelta. And they went to hold a committee. Yaradua himself, not the one who became president, the general, wanted to be president too after Abacha. Maybe Abacha has set a trap for him. He said he's not well for prison. Sent doctor to go inject her. 2 days he was dead. Even among themselves, they practice witchcraft. The road was not cleared for Abacha. And 1 million, 5 million march, all those things were being organized until God himself said he don't do. One night, he didn't wake up. But consider, since he died in 1998, They are still finding his money in Europe and America. Just imagine the heap of the money. They are still, it's 20-something years now. They are still bringing the money that the man took only 4 years he was in office. So if you consider what I'm saying now, you will never find a cutlass long enough to cut their throat. But even when the laws are made to mediate, like 30%, they refuse to pay. Okay, wait for civilian regime. Civilian regime came. These were people who became governors in 1999. President Obasanjo, who was now a civilian, who was to die in prison because of Abacha himself. You would think that he would then say, okay, go implement. He refused to implement. He's here now. We have to form a resource control movement. I was the chairman of the editorial board of the Guardian newspaper at that time. It was the most powerful newspaper in the whole of African continent. This is now boast too. That time, no party, no embassy will hold a party in Lagos if NIGERIAN was not present. Because of resource control, when the struggle come hot, I decided I must go home and join. That's why I resigned from the Guardian to come and join resource control in NigerDelta. I'm sitting here now, see my head. All my hair is gone now. But it was a beautiful movement. These governors, Ata, Ibori, Alamesia, Lucky Benedion, Odili, the Duke, I think, they rose up. Okay, I paid this money. And before I left the Guardian newspapers, we did 100 editorials in support of resource control. 100. I have them in my office. The day that Obasanjo visited Governor Atta in Uyo here, in the old stadium, he had not implemented 30%. He was collecting the entire money and spending it. He hosted him here. The money, that money was coming to Uyo stadium. We did an editorial that money. Obasanjo paid this money in Lagos. He met it here. And when he entered the stadium, wanted to make a speech. He had microphone. To make one statement, everybody in the stadium say, pay our money. He had microphone again, pay our money. You know, that time, you know, he was turning around like a masquerade. 3 times, pay our money. He was confused. He promised him, I will pay. Let me say that. They had to force him to implement. Whatever. Our people, our governors have misused that money because the governors themselves are a smaller version of the president in Abuja. I'm saying this not because of their internal weakness, but because the structure of the Nigerian constitution makes the president an emperor. Buhari is the most powerful president in the universe. He has 450 ministries and agencies to preside over. He is to appoint the MDs of those 450. He has power of life and death over us. In that constitution, the state level is a smaller version of it. The governor also has all the powers. But they didn't think of it. They struggled. I can remember they used to wear t-shirts and jeans to the rallies. Resource control, gentlemen, no day oh. Resource control, gentlemen, no day oh. Resource control, gentlemen, no day oh. Well, clap for yourself. That is what those governors did then. So, I'm still talking about the oil. The reason why Nigeria exists at all is because of NigerDelta oil. And Nigeria is the only country in the world that has colonized its own people. that is, have used military force to take over the land and resources of a portion of its own country. So when we are appealing here now in the manifesto that federal government should please implement, come on, they are just laughing. We are appealing to the same, you're picking all well, though. You want cure them, you go call the man who caused the illness. Go call the witch who caused the illness, please come out. That, I think, is what we are doing. Appealing to this government to come and improve the environment. No, we have to do it ourselves. So, in looking at the history, as Nimo Bassey and the chairman observed, it is not today our people have been rising to fight against injustice. Our leaders, I look at it today, from 1850, the time of Perekule, it's called King Pepo in Ero, who was exiled to Jaja Fopobo, up to now to just name names, heroes and heroines. They fought against Europeans who were armed to defeat the most powerful nations in the world. In the 19th century were Europeans. England, no, Holland, France, Germany. Our leaders stood their ground that if you are going to buy this palm oil or kernel, the price must be right and fair. They negotiated. In that course, the British, who were the last robbers to arrive, arrested many of them. King Perekule was one of them. So was Jaja. So was Nana of Ishekiri. So was Oba Oborawen Nogbaisi. You can extend it to Dr. Udoma, the first African to have a PhD in law, who was head of the Calabar, Ogoja, and Rivers State Movement. His secretary was Okoye Arikpo, doctor, first Nigerian to have a PhD in anthropology from UGEP. You can go on until you come to Dakwabriye, to Bukoromowo, down to every time casualties. Our people have fought and won laurels for themselves. All these people I'm naming now, they are resting in heaven now. Clap for them, they are in heaven. So, those foreigners were not as wicked and cruel as the Nigerian rulers. That's the point you must note. All those people who were against them, like Nana, like Horame, like they arrested them and took them away to prison. Nogbaisi, the Oba of Benin, was taken to Calabar. He died there. Nana ran to Ghana. He was taken back. He went to prison after 10 years. Okay, go to your Shekri people. He established a new town called Koko. I can't say know the place. Everyone they dealt with, they didn't kill them. The Nigerian government, the black government, are the first people to kill our people for protesting injustice. The one they did in Ogoni of November 1995 being the most atrocious. Tawiwa and 8 others. For the figures we have in the manifesto now, there are more casualties there. The one of Oti, I saw the figures here. About 2,300 people massacred. That young man representing the Europe Progress Union has told you about the figures in the Jersey fire in October 98. 1,098. They died in 1 hour. And they were burnt beyond recognition. The ashes are still there. Federal government did not even bring medicine till today. The head of state was called Abubakar, I think that the one who is sick now. Has he come back? He was the head of state. He came in a helicopter to the site. He saw it. and he caused the dead bodies that Igbo deserve to die because you were doing illegal bunkering. No. How much anger can you express against? You cause dead body, say they steal oil. Meanwhile, the man who is saying it, the president of Nigeria, is the one stealing the oil. I'll climb it up, just take it further now. The point that should inform our recommendation of what we want to do. I'm saying that we should recognize that federal arrangement, party, PDP, SDP, whatever name they call, those organizations do not belong to us. They are founded by the Fulani and their friends in Abuja. And they come to look for somebody they can send an errand. Listen to me carefully. They come to look among us. Somebody will accept to do their work. And then they will concede to you. So, because of the atrocities that Bassey committed against our people and the job people in particular, after the OD thing, he had to make a concession. So he broke the rotational arrangement of their party and came to select Goodluck to be vice. I think you remember the story. It's not because he loved us. The sins he had committed and the spirits of the dead worry him at night all the time in his presidential library in Abeokuta. He wanted to lower that cost. He came to pick. Why did he pick Jonathan? Jonathan was deputy to Alemesia. What did he do to Alemesia? July 2005, Alemesia, Ibori, myself, Dr. Soron, we were in America, University of North Carolina, to deliver. Alemesia is the keynote speaker on environment and NigerDelta. We had drafted a firebrand speech for him. We went to America, it was delivered around the whole world. He left there, he said, James, that's the Boris name. I'm going to Germany for medical checkup. And he went to Germany from there. Later, next day, the Boris told us he has called the man, they are going to arrest him. They're going to arrest him. So he called him, DSP, they are coming for you. He said, me? What did I do now? What did he do? He did anything wrong. He left Germany and went to London. As soon as he landed in the airport in London, chains in his hand and his legs. You know the story. Before he came back, they had used an aeroplane to carry the members of Assembly of Bayelsa State to a hotel in Lagos to impeach. If they did it in Yanagua, they would not survive it. There was a man who was in charge of EFCC that time. I forgot his name. It's a small man like this. Ribadu. Those are part of the cabal. He chased the man, he pitched. He himself will tell you how much they have done to him, but you see here now. Chief, you hit 100, no shaking. It is that thing Heidi he wanted to at least temper. That's why he came to pick Jonathan to be deputy, then later became president. He himself was the one who said he cannot go back. Go to a paper of membership of PDP. He stopped me from going further. So whoever they take from here as president, as vice, whoever, they want to make you a slave and zombie of their own cabal. So this is the point of principle that we in the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum, headed by our indomitable Chief Edwin Takodo Clark, we made a statement last month, that nobody from NigerDelta should accept position of vice. We have to disagree at a point. Oh, you want to be vice, to be senior monitor or senior prefect. So somebody from where? Adamawa State, wretched state, contributes nothing to the economy, is endowed by divine authority to become president. Then you come and pick somebody from NigerDelta to be carried back after him. Waiting. You don't do. Mumu don't do. That's the position we have taken in that organization. It's not personal. We are not saying we don't like my governor's face or his activity, Governor Kowa. We're not saying that. We are saying in principle, those of us from this region whose resources support Nigeria, the minimum we can take is president. Anything less than that is slave trade. So good luck to them now. They went to fight. I mean, Governor Wike and others put up fight there. They fought them chest to chest. At the end, they manipulate. But every of those encounters is a big lesson for us. That there's no way there. If there was a way there, Jonathan would have done it. When he knew that the structure of Nigeria is against us, he called a conference. He called it National Conference. Please come and help me design. That's what we are doing now. Nimo Bassey, I'm calling this meeting. You know what the parties had was called convention. Not so. This is what we are doing. This is the authentic right convention of Nigerian people. National Conference, 494 people inside. His Excellency was there. I was also there, delegate. Nobody can delegate of dollar. I forget that. You have to make the decision, or otherwise we won't be here now. So we met for 4 months daily. He was co-chairman of my committee on restructuring. We gave him the best report that will save Nigeria from disaster. He knew the Fulani people rallied immediately. First, stop him from becoming president. If he becomes president second time, he will implement this, then we are finished. He defeated him. Second, as soon as when he was handing over to Buhari, this thing is very good, look at it. Buhari said, up to now, he has not looked at the report at all. Because he knows the content. The content is to end Fulani oligarchy in the country. That report is dead. After that, we rallied among ourselves, graduates and alumni of National Conference, and we call it restructuring. Pandef led that movement. I'm chairman of Pandef in Delta State, and we held rallies from Ibadan to Enugu. We went to Makurdi and went to Yenagoa, the greatest one, called it Mega Rally, March 2018. We made resolution and resolution. Government ignored restructuring. It is now almost dead. So, whatever step you take, they have anticipated it 10 years ago. The person will be governor of this state now. They are interested in it in the next 10 years. So let's be faster and smarter than the robbers. So I'm going to conclude it, Mr. Chairman, by saying there's no matter what happened, the rivers must have fish inside it at one point or the other. Fish not the fish for river. No matter the condition of the waterways, crocodile not the fear water. So we need to design a manifesto, or I call it here NigerDelta agenda, whose acronym is NDA. We need to design a manifesto that will give practical power to that message I was hearing from the microphone earlier. They were calling it self-determination. Not be so. We design a manifesto that will emancipate, free NigerDelta from the witchcraft of the northern oligarchy and bourgeoisie. I'm saying this because I have analyzed the futility of saying we want to present a president, we want to give a vice president, or waste of time. His Majesty Seraigbe just mentioned here now, ministers of oil from NigerDelta. Many, one was from River State in those military era. Even the Majesty that addressed us by internet now, Dakoro, who was the minister of oil. Now Silva is also a minister for oil. All of them are impotent. They can't change any law. They cannot stop any oil company for doing whatever he likes. So, whom are they defending there? They are defending the interests of the oppressors of NigerDelta. If all those people who hold such strategic positions are helpless, why are we still investing hope that maybe if you say GT Dara there, because the man is militant, he will change? Foul. The structure is against us. To build a new Nigeria, well, I don't even want to pray for it because it will take a long time. I am saying that we need to cultivate and plan for the autonomy of the NigerDelta as a region of its own, in charge of its own resources, natural, human, social. It should aim to become a country of its own, a sovereign nation of NigerDelta peoples. There are 70 ethnic groups in NigerDelta. Each of them is civilized enough, bigger than Sweden and also Finland. And don't forget, 150 years ago, our own people were already trading and marrying Europeans. I mean, lie. All those names you have in Calabari, are they not part of intermarriage into your Igbos? We married European maidens and themselves 200 years ago. That means we were already equal with all of them in the world, in the global community. Then after independence now, they come make a foot march of Nigeria. Wait, no. After independence, when we should grow higher, the rulers of Nigeria concentrated in the Sokoto Caliphate have reduced us to yes and misa. Our ancestors who are in heaven will not pardon us that we succumbed cheaply. Take it from me, 200 years ago, the most populated place in the whole of African continent was NigerDelta. The most populated density, human beings. It was slave trade that took some of them away. I gave to Nimo some photos and so on. If we are having doubt about our capacity to survive in this environment, because the topic that we are discussing is called ecology, social ecology, how human beings can relate with nature, friendly, harmoniously, without being a predator or being a thief. That is a key philosophy of our liberation movement. is different from the philosophy of the Fulani people, whose own is to conquer and rape and pillage, to the extent of even sending terrorists now into our, I could never get the Yoruba area, sending terrorists into the land now, armed with AK-47. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police has ordered all of us to surrender our weapons some years ago. We have surrendered them. Your Majesty, not so. After surrendering them, then they enter the land to take AK-47. No one has been arrested one day, taken to court in Uyo here, and tried and sent to jail. None. If a governor does it here, or in Delta, or in Bayelsa, you arrest Fulani person, you jail him, that is the day they will impeach you. Even our governors cannot carry out the responsibilities given to them by the Constitution. It is very bad. So, I'm advocating in line with the current accord entered into by the NIGERDelta Forum, comprising all the 6 states from Cross River to Edo State, 70 nations there. Afenifere Yoruba political organization covering 6 states of the Southwest. They have extended to Ilorin and Kogi State, where you also have Yoruba community. Our third partner is Ohaneze Indigo, in charge of the 5 states in the Southeast. So the whole South, what we call the Atlantic belt of Nigeria, which is the region of wealth and prosperity, we are in one group now. Then we are joined by the victims of the Fulani terrorism in the north, who are called Middle Belt. That's the name to refer to them. That is all the ethnic groups in that north central, including northeast. There are 317 ethnic groups in the Middle Belt. 317. Adamawa State alone, where ambitious Atiku comes from, there are 80 ethnic groups there. Every 5 kilometers is another language. They are part of this movement called Southern Nigeria and Middle Belt Leaders Forum. They are part of us. We have taken a position that having canvassed that nobody, presidency should come to the South mandatorily, it didn't come. They have named one in Lagos to be the candidate to, but I don't think that the difference between 6 and half a dozen is not clear. And we have also said no VP, no vice president to carry bag to follow. We have also said we will not support them. We have now to articulate a line of action that can lead NigerDelta into what I call the kingdom of freedom and paradise. Many things will be done. I've written them down. One of these is that we have to think of forming our own political parties. The party of NigerDelta people, not PDP, not APC, form somewhere else, then we got to queue up with PVC. That era should be ended. Should be ended. A party of NigerDelta people to articulate what they want to be in the universe, in the world, in relation to other nations. It was done in the 60s, and Dr. Brie was a vanguard of it. It was called NigerDelta Congress, when they wanted to get out of NCNC. That was the party that made Mefodokilo to win the election. We have to form our own party. So the next thing to do, this manifesto, we have to feed new ideas into it. And the area in which I'm most concerned is what was lamented by the speakers here, that there are no young people. In this hall, half of you are young people. Are you not young? Yes. We already have them here. And in this era, whether you are present physically or not, internet is available. You can move the whole world, even if you are not physically present. But we need a manifesto that will contain issues of education from cradle to the grave. In NigerDelta, person must have education sponsored by the government from the day he's born to the day he dies. I have put in the pictures I sent to him the kind of vehicles that we should ferry our people, not keke. Hey! You see those things in Korea or in Dubai? That rickety thing is what you are riding in an oil-producing area of the world, keke. No, I mean, maybe shame small, I beg. I have recommended the mass transit that every government in NigerDelta must do along with private sector. I put the pictures there. Air-conditioned buses and air-conditioned trains. But we have waterways. And from my study, NigerDelta has the highest number of rivers in the whole universe. We cannot bridge all of them. So we must convert them to usable. That is what we call ecology. You are living with the river and the water in a friendly manner. And I put the picture, I've sent it to Nimo, which I took in South Korea when I visited there. Boats as big as this building, air-conditioned boats. You can play tennis somewhere. There are internet services somewhere. The pepper soup can be served in the corner. And then you hold a school. You can hold classes inside that boat. The boat can be moving from small village to another small village in the creeks, because some villages may be too small to host a school. They are called mobile aquatic schools, air conditioned. That is what God asked us to enjoy by making this place a tropical paradise. Entering Okada. I have added, sir, that when we have agreed on all the items that should enter the manifesto, we will now seek a way of now recruiting children and school members. The way we used to do Boy Scout and Girl Guides in those days. We take this struggle into the schools and make our children to be members from youth, from level. They will take the struggle from us. And my calculation, 40 million people in NigerDelta, yeah, Nigeria is dead. That's the end of Nigeria. And when Nigeria dies, that is it. Join the struggle. Thank you, Chairman. Join the struggle.
A bigger round of applause for Professor Gigi Dara. You may be seated, please. Thanks are not enough to express our appreciation for that very profound keynote address on the imperatives of a new regional socio-ecological framework. Professor Chidara calls it storytelling. I call it a profound keynote address. Thank you so much, sir. We're very grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, we are very pressed for time. And so we will move straight into the next level of conversation. And just to tell you that immediately after these interventions we're going to have next, we will break for tea. And I will be announcing how the tea proceedings will take place. But I do know that the high table will remain on the high table and they will be served on the high table. And the other high table on this side will be told exactly what to do. We have tried to spread this out as much as possible to make it less encumbering. Ladies and gentlemen, after that very profound keynote address by Professor Gigi Dara, we have slated 6 persons to give very brief interventions stemming from the very topical issues which Professor Gigi Dara threw up. And we will begin by handing the microphone over to His Excellency Obong Victor Atta, who has requested to have the first salvo at the intervention. Your Excellency, sir.
Very much. My distinguished brothers and sisters, I am considerably older than Gigi Dara, and my memory goes a little further back than his. So if I differ, take it that I'm just taking a position that I firmly believe in, not necessarily wiser. But I pick out a few things from what he said. One of the key things he kept saying, structure of Nigeria, structure of Nigeria, structure of Nigeria. That is what I want to happen. Remembering, however, that this meeting is supposed to be socio-ecological rather than political meeting. But it's very difficult to distinguish between the two. And that's why he went into those very difficult political, I call them difficult because they were truly difficult political areas. There was, and the certain key things also stand out in talking about structure of Nigeria. We talk about self-determination, we talk about autonomy. I want to remind us, because a lot of you in this hall are much too young to remember what I'm going to say. There was a time when there were 3 and later on 4 regions in Nigeria, and they were absolutely, totally autonomous within the country called Nigeria. That is what made it possible for the Western region to do the things it did. It made it possible for the Eastern region to do what it did, and it made it possible for the Northern region to do what it did. So my appeal would be to acknowledge the fact that we don't need any long or sharp knife to cut anybody's throat. What we need is a PVC to make sure you vote in people that are going to re-engineer this country. The word you use today is restructuring, but believe me, it needs full re-engineering. What I mean by that is the fact that what we are operating, and he pointed out, as I was listening to him, he said, we even sent a person there. We have our minister, but they couldn't do anything. Why could they not do anything? Because the framework does not permit you, even with best intention in the world, to do anything. Therefore, what I think we need to change is the framework. If we change that framework, you'll see things will fall into place as it used to be. We had a good country. I'm not going to deny we had a very, very good country from the time we had independence in 1960 until there was military intervention in 1966. By the coming of the military, we changed from a federal system with a parliamentary administration to a unitary system and a presidential system. And that is what has killed Nigeria. As far as I'm concerned, if we should take the bull by the horn and go back to that system that was established for us by our founding fathers, total autonomy to the federating units, you have resource control, you take what you want, what you have, and develop yourself. It is true. I'm mixing because I was listening and taking notes. It is true that only very few states today contribute to the federal funds, but that is not to say the others don't have what to contribute. But there's no incentive. Because if you have a situation in which every month you can go to Abuja and collect money, why should you bother to develop anything else? If while as on the other, if we go back to generating rather than sharing, you'll see that everybody will now be look after yourself, go after your resources, use it to develop yourself, and we will re-engineer Nigeria in a manner that will be entirely and completely different. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is this. Please, there's a benefit in having a very large country such as Nigeria. Nobody can deny that. Nobody can deny that because the economy and everything, it multiplies with their size if that size is properly administered. Therefore, let us look for a situation in which you will have the autonomy to do what you want to do. The Western region had free education. Nobody was envious. The Western region had the first television in West Africa. Nobody minded. So we can go back to a situation if we can get hold of our oil, the others will begin to get hold of whatever resources they have or whatever means they have of sustaining themselves, and together we will have a beautiful country as was established for us in the 1960 up till 1966. I appeal, go get your PVC. Go and elect the people that understand that what is wrong with Nigeria. It is easy to equate the system with the federal government. Yes, because the federal government operates this system. And that's where the force is. But if we can change that system, believe me, we'll see that the only time we'll have enemies will be if we don't develop ourselves the way we want to. The section of the Constitution, section 44 that you quoted, can disappear entirely if tomorrow we establish a federal system with resource control. And that is what the fight has always been. And I thank God for people who have stood in this one. The younger ones are beginning to understand this. Take hold of what you have and develop yourself. Please go get your PVC. I didn't want to introduce political issues into this matter because we are dealing with ecology and so on. But go get your PVC and vote for those who will re-engineer this country. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that excellent intervention, Your Excellency. Thank you. Thank you. And I just wish to reiterate, one of the fundamental things which His Excellency Obong Victor has stated, and that's to say that this is that yes, we do recognize that there are a lot of political issues around the Niger Delta. There are issues of resource ownership, what we have often called resource control. There are issues of participation. There are several core issues in the Niger Delta region, and we recognize that there are foremost organizations representing the interests of the region, like PANDEF and others. We recognize that, and we know that there are other manifestos in the Niger Delta region where people are working very hard towards realizing. And we have tried deliberately to limit the conversation and the manifesto at this point in time to the social and ecological issues facing the Niger Delta region, principally those issues that are more threatening, emerging, those issues that some of us may not have. I mean, there are serious political issues, but I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people in the region handling those issues. I cannot stop thanking Gigi Dara for that fundamental keynote address and throwing up those key issues. It's always good to hear them once again and to always try to make the linkages. Just like His Excellency said, it's almost impossible to separate them. Almost impossible. You talk about the ecology, you will talk about the structure of Nigeria, and that drives you necessarily into a political conversation. And so moving on, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my profound pleasure to call for the next intervention. His Royal Majesty, Sarah Ibe. Thank you, Your Majesty.
Your Excellency, may I stand on the existing protocol? Let me thank Professor Dada. As a lecturer he has been able to digest the entire paper in a way that we can all understand the problem of the Niger Delta. Having said that, I want to go to the issue of oil production. Who owns the oil? People have said, oh, they use granite, money of granite to form oil. That is a big lie. Right from 1938, when the federal government appointed Shell to explore oil in the Niger Delta or in Nigeria, there was no contribution by federal government. The contract was, you produce the oil with your resources, and when we get the oil, we will share the profit. Before the 1938, the Niger Delta was a major producer of palm oil, palm kernel, timber, and rubber, a major source of revenue for the Federation. So the issue of granite was used to build oil is a total lie. One good thing with the Niger Delta, before the advent of oil, we had palm oil, timber, and others. Today we have oil, which is the mainstay of the country. I want to tell you, even if there is no more fossil oil in Nigeria, Niger Delta still play a major role in the new energy sector. Today, we have over 190 trillion cubic feet of gas, natural and associated gas. And if we are graduating from oil to gas, it means for the next 50,000 years, Niger Delta will feed Nigeria and provide the gas resources to the world. So we will still be relevant. But the issue is, what have we benefited from this oil, from this palm oil, and the gas we are going to produce in future? That is the bone of contention. And that is why I thank those who came together to produce this document. We know that there are several documents, starting with the 1960 Constitution, the Minority Report, the Robinson Commission of Inquiry, to the recent documentations when Yar'Adua assembled leaders of Niger Delta to assemble them and form a comprehensive document for the development of Niger Delta. Even though those documents are not implemented, it is good we have records of demands and records and things we need for the region. So this document will one day be part of that document, those documents that we have been agitating for. But while I appreciate this document, I still feel that we need to do some additions and also some corrections. If you look at the first paragraph of the first number one of our demands, B, we said 66 years. The oil activity started in Niger Delta beyond 1956. Even though oil was discovered in January 1956, there were exploration activities in the Niger Delta before that time. So the devastation of the Niger Delta started beyond 1956. So the issue of 66 years, 64 years is not the issue. We have suffered beyond 64 years. And I also of the view that if you look at the companies, every year we have EIA reports. And in the EIA reports, there are projects that are supposed to be cited in every operations of the oil companies. These projects are not implemented. Every year, EIA reports are coming out. And if you study the EIA report, there are several projects, but these are not implemented, and nobody cares. So I will humbly pray to this body to include in 1C that the federal government, through the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission to audit and enforce the implementation of the EIA reports. Let them go through the records to see how many EIA report has DPR approved and how have they been implemented. If they are implementing that, the level of poverty, the level of destruction in the Niger Delta will not be there. Because what is EIA report? Environmental Impact Assessment. And that report tells you what are the implications of this project you want to cite. If you cite this project, these are the consequences. And so these are the remediations. These are the recommendations. But nobody cares about this EIA report. And I will insist that this is an environmental issue. That EIA report must be taken seriously. And they must audit it and let us know. Number two, if you go to 3, the federal government through the Ministry of Petroleum Resources should urgently implement the promises to set up modular refineries. Because here you talk about the illegal refineries, how they are polluting the environment. Indeed, they are really polluting our environment. Even though few persons are making money from it, even though they have reduced the cost of diesel and petroleum in our environment, but they have destroyed the ecosystem of our environment. And when an ecosystem is destroyed, it takes over 70 years to recover. So our environment is totally destroyed. The waterways, the farmlands. And the only way to remedy it is for Mr. Vice President, who was acting president, to implement his promise to set up the modular refineries to replace these illegal refineries. Here again I come to say that the Niger Deltas are the problems. When Pandem submitted our 17-point agenda, a son of Niger Delta, Kashuku, came with 20-point agenda to rubbish the 60-point agenda. And because of his stand, we could not achieve anything. Only thing we could achieve was the Maritime University in Delta State and the one in Oron, and maybe take off of Ogoni, clean up. But if Kachuku supported the region, I think we would have gone far. All the projects recommended were not also in the budget till the left office. I think we need to do something urgently by calling the federal government to set up the modular refinery for the people of Niger Delta, not for the rich. If it means the state and local government to participate, to enable these boys in the creek to take over this, to manage these refineries, it will reduce the illegal refinery and destruction of our environment. Still on trade, the various companies before the production and after production have pipelines crisscross across the whole Niger Delta. Some they did not see oil, some they found oil, some they locked up oil that are today spilling all over the Niger Delta. They must not go until they recover those pipelines and recover those oils. Otherwise, when they leave, whoever they sell to may not have the capacity to be able to handle it. So we must include it. 4.8. They have proposed that we should remove the power to establish host community development trust fund from the companies or the settlers. That is not only enough. The power to appoint the board members and the committee members should be entrusted in the communities. Because a situation where the oil companies appoint everybody and appoint only one community member to be in the board is another deceit, because they will influence those they appoint and they will not still do anything for us. The same area we are talking about removing That's 5. Before the 5, still on 4. We are talking about the committee, the PIA bill. The PIA itself has a lot of problems, but I think it's a step forward. If all these years, this PIA as proposed by Yaradua was implemented, we would have gone far. The PIA as it is today, we are talking about the GMOUs, MOUs. The PIA is very clear that all those GMOUs must be inherited by the trust fund. If you depend on those GMOUs, the NigerDelta should be cheated. Because what do we have in that GMOUs? 100 billion, 200 billion of maybe per year. Whereas the PIA is talking about 3% of your cost of operation. If we have 3% of the cost of operation, I think we will go far than depending on the GMOUs. But the GMOU is a total cheat on the NigerDelta. But what we insist is, whatever is the accumulation from the GMOU should be transferred to the trust fund so that we will not lose any money. 5, NDDC. The NDDC was set up to bridge the gap. But today, the NDDC is not doing what they're supposed to do. The NDDC becomes an agent of the North. The North determines which project that will be given, who takes the contract. It's not supposed to be so. And if you can see, NDDC has become a source of political financing. Those in the NDDC will use NDDC money to finance their political parties, which is not right. So I also support that the forensic audit must be published for all of us to see. But behind the forensic audit, the chief executives, like the MD and the EDs, must come from the oil-bearing communities. Because they are not from the oil-bearing communities, they don't care. Because they don't have the impact of the oil exploration in those areas. They take projects out of these oil-bearing communities to anywhere they like. Visit the oil-bearing communities, most of them are still living in squalors. No water, no school, no health, most of them. If you are from the NigerDelta, if you are going to the creeks, you will cry for where this oil is produced. Because the end of the affairs are not from the oil-bearing communities. And so they don't know what we suffer. Over 25 crises opened our eyes. When the president rep came and saw the water they were drinking, he cried. He cried. And Shell has been operating there for over 60 years. So we will insist that the NDDC, for it to be more effective, they have to appoint the executives from the oil-bearing communities. 5C, 13% derivation fund should be, they want to give anything to, they give. They don't care. They don't care. They just spend the money as if it's their personal money. It ought not to be so. If you also observe, most of these governors are not from the oil-bearing communities. And so, they don't care whether there are schools, there are health centers, or there is water in the oil-bearing communities. Derivation fund is basically for the oil-bearing communities as a palliative for the suffering of the. And you think agitation will stop in NigerDelta? Agitation will never stop until these communities are developed. So, instead of setting up their so-called debt or whatever they call it, let them share this money as the PIA has recommended, so that every oil-bearing communities will benefit from the 13% derivation fund. D of 5, I will still emphasize government agencies today, the state house of assemblies, no matter how moribund they are, should be able to hold the governors accountable. I thank God in River State, we have perpetual injunction. The court has ruled the House of Assembly have the right to probe past governors. And so if the House of Assembly have that power to probe past governors, then the House of Assembly should be able to hold the governors to ransom. Tell us how you spend the 13% derivation. We continue to blame the North. We continue to blame Nigeria. We continue to blame the law. If we use our money judiciously, we're talking of the Cocoa House, we're talking of this. If our governors are using the 13% judiciously, if they don't play politics with it, you can, if you recall, some of our governors spent billions for presidency. They want to become president, and they never got it. We don't learn. Every time our money will be stashed away to contest for presidency, while we live in poverty, while the NIGERIAN is not developed, and they dash money freely to other states because nobody is holding them accountable. So the House of Assembly and NIGERDelta should be able to speak out and hold them accountable. That's part of our recommendation. The NIGERDelta Amnesty Program is one of the programs that has been able to bring peace in the region. But as we speak, that program is still a mere promulgation of the president. There is no law backing it. And since there is no law backing it, they cannot go around the NIGERDelta to get back the arms. Our region has a lot of illegal arms. That is why we have piracy everywhere. The Gulf of Guinea is tormented by pirates. If this body, NIGERDelta Amnesty Program, is empowered to take arms, because by the law, only Mr. President has the power to say, go and take. For you to receive arms, any military base to receive arms, there must be an executive order from Mr. President. So even the legal arms, the police cannot go and recover legal arms. Which body will you take it to? But if this body is empowered by law to go around the NIGERDelta, whichever way they go about it, they will get these arms from our sons, because the people managing it are NIGERDelta people. We know our sons who have these guns, these illegal guns. We know our sons who are using this illegal gun to terrorize the region. If this body is properly empowered, I think we can reduce the level of illegal arms in the region, and that will reduce piracy. Finally, Nigeria is on a crossroads. We are facing a new crime called terrorism. We call it kidnapping, we call it all kinds of names, call it banditry, call it Boko Haram. This is the major crime across the world. It's a cartel. It's a cartel that is within the entire country. It's not within one country, but it has a link with different countries. The only safe part in Nigeria is the NIGERDelta, particularly the South-South. If we don't take steps and this terrorism creep into the NIGERDelta, Nigeria, that will not country like Nigeria. The Northeast is gone. Northwest is gone. North Central is in trouble. Southeast is a no-go area. Southwest has started. When this creep into NIGERDelta, and if you all keep quiet, then there will be no Nigeria, because that is where Nigeria will explode. And that's where the oil and gas will stop to flow. And when that happens, there will be no center to hold. So this body should recommend to the federal government to take this terrorism seriously. Kidnapping is a source of funding for terrorism. It's one of the source of funding for terrorism. And if we cannot allow them to kidnap our people and take these millions of naira to buy more arms and remain in our environment, we're talking about environment. You cannot enter the bush to farm. You cannot enter anywhere. You're afraid. In the other regions, it's not going there. Farmers cannot farm again. If we allow these people to come into South-South, I think South-South will fight back the way it is fighting back, and that will run Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Majesty, Sarah Ibe, for that detailed analysis of the NigerDelta Manifesto for Social and Ecological Justice. That was a review, basically, and it gives us food for thought. That conversation was supposed to actually happen much later with our audience together in the panel discussions, but I dare to say that His Royal Majesty has taken his go at that review. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, while His Majesty Sarah Ibe was speaking, we were joined by the National Chairman of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, Senator Emmanuel Ibok Essien, FNSC. You're very welcome, sir. That's the PANDEF chairman. And like we always say, PANDEF is the authentic voice of the Niger Delta region. This is the apex body representing our political interests. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have a few more interventions, but I will very humbly appeal to those taking the next interventions to be a lot more, brief. We are short of time. We are due for tea break. We are past that by over an hour. And so let me very quickly also call on Professor Lucky Akarose to give his intervention. It's a very brief one. Thank you so much, Professor.
What? Chairman, the chairman of PANDEF, comrades and compatriots. Well, you see, we've been always cogitating, indirectly repeating ourselves. I never knew I was going to give this intervention comment. Our problems are structural. If you look, take concerns of any developed country, all the developed countries in the world, they are largely products of negotiation. For example, in 1830, Netherlands and Belgium negotiated themselves. They were one country, they separated. In 2002, I'm taking cue from what Gigi Dara actually spoke and what Sarah, the last part of what he was saying, what he said. East Timor and Indonesia, they negotiated themselves through crisis, war, they separated. Today we talk of Singapore. In 1965, Singapore was part of Malaysia. They negotiated themselves, they separated. In 1905, Denmark and Norway negotiated themselves. Said, well, we cannot stay together. You see, when you talk of a country, look, let us not always deceive ourselves. From the document, Niger Delta people. No, it is Niger Delta peoples. Because if you use the word nation, it presupposes ethnic homogeneity, not ethnic heterogeneity. Not ethnic heterogeneity. The problems we have in this country today, let me say, when I served in Borno State, and where I did my primary assignment was what they call Gamborun Gala. My primary assignment was to collect data from dispensaries in Ngala local government council areas. During the rainy season, if I want to go to some part of Ngala local government area, I will go through Cameroon. No leader in Nigeria can plan for Nigeria. From where I served to Njemina, which I go over weekend before there was crisis there, was about 65 kilometers. You pass through Kusiri. The north, in terms of boundaries, it is just in paper. A Fulani in Nigeria has the same authority
The same mentality as a Fulani in Niger. You just walk down there, you go. I mean, from Baghdad, you just go to Niger, you go to Chad. So you can't even plan for our population. We don't know our population. Let's all pretend. Yugoslavia, in 1991, what happened? About 7 countries came out there: Montenegro, Serbia, Bosnia, Croatia, Macedonia, Slovakia, Montenegro. Soviet Union, you cannot count them. In 1992-93, there was the Velvet Revolution. Czechoslovakia belonged to Czech Republic and Slovakia. Neatly, the Caucasians, they don't allow themselves to be dominated. Today, you are talking, take your PVC, take your PVC. Thank you very much. So my PVC is now to now, I mean, Tinubu one side, Atiku one side. So of what use is my PVC? Assuming Atiku wins, one Fulani to the other Fulani. Is that the kind of slavery I have to pass through all my life? Let's tell ourselves. Let's look at past petroleum ministers. The judges are a bit fortunate. You can count the judges that have been petroleum ministers. You can count them. What are the other groups? Nationally, beside the judge, the Shaki comes second. Not even a messenger in petroleum industry, the petroleum ministry office. So, look, in Switzerland, you have 4 ethnic groups there. As of today, I'm talking to you. You have the Germans, you have the French, you have the Italians, you have the Romans. Romans are just 2,000. They rotate the presidency. I mean, people, let's not pretend. Religious heterogeneity, linguistic heterogeneity is an issue globally. Never you mention United States to me. Go to Canada, Quebec. It's just the only French-speaking country. There was a book I got in Kigali, Tanzania. I mean, what was it, Rwanda, a few years ago. The title was "Shaking Hands with the Devil." The head of the United Nations force there, Darius, when he was appointed, the English-speaking Canadians were saying, why should that person be from this French-speaking? That they were more. What I'm trying to say, when you see these conflict, ethnic issues and rest of them, it is global. I did a research in India. I was there. The case of India is that the population there is multi-ethnic, but the parliamentary system gives room for the smaller ones to determine. They have a major ethnic group in India. It's about 50%. So there's what you call a superculture. So in our case, you bring the issue of it is very ethnic. In Europe, they don't use the word ethnic, they use the word nations. Nigeria is not a nation. These are theoretical issues. Nigeria is not a nation. Once you make nation, you are talking of ethnic homogeneity, ethnic groups. No, look at the European countries. French is French. Spain, the Basque that are not Spanish, they are fighting back for their independence. So when we are talking of NigerDelta, what I'm trying to say, we must be honest with ourselves. It's heterogeneous, and Nigeria is heterogeneous. If we have this at the back of our minds, how we profess solution will be more honest, will be more deep-rooted, will be more academic, intellectual, and practical. I will talk of oil. Let me tell you, the constitution is this, constitution is this. The Petroleum Industry Act is encapsulated in the constitution. Look, let me tell colleagues, this is not classroom for me. People always tell you the rule of law, the rule of law. Ask the person, the law you want to, that the law that should rule you, what are the sources of those laws? So if you from NigerDelta say, oh, there must be rule of law, then you are now saying the Petroleum Industry Act that dispossesses you must prevail. Because it's easy to say, oh, the rule of law, the rule of law. Whether the law is good, whether the law is bad, whether the law is oppressive, you are saying it should superintend. That's just all. To start from the Greek society, what we call Solonic oligarchy. Rule of law has no definition. So I want us that we must always, when we are meeting this, we must always equip ourselves that when we are shouting the rule of law, you are not saying the law that oppresses you to continue to oppress you. That's just the narrative. So I must thank those who organize this gathering, and it is long. We must always tell ourselves some truth. As Gigi Dara mentioned, today we have problems now. Presidency, vice presidency. So those of us who are politicians, they have not helped us. What has come to play was that while the South governors, I may not agree with them, we are holding meeting in Asaba that, oh, all the political parties must, get those from the South as presidential candidates. The one from my state was just a mole there. Because for you to be a vice president in PDP, it's not a day's job. You must have invested for a very long time. So these are some of the tragedies that we face in NigerDelta. So we must be honest with ourselves. I thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you. Thank you. The discussions are deep, they are profound, they are also very long. These are very useful conversations. So we are making a very brief adjustment to our plans. I'm aware that some people got here as early as 8:30 and probably did not have breakfast before coming. So we're going to take a break. It will be a very, very short break. We will continue with the interventions, and trust me, everybody in this audience will have an opportunity to say a word or two. Anybody who desires to will have an opportunity to do that. Not a problem at all, and we'll still close on time. We will still close on time. Thank you so much for understanding. But now we will go on a very brief break. Some of you have already received packs of refreshment, but we have tea, coffee, and beverages at the back. You can feel free, step to the back, grab a cup of tea or coffee, and then return, and we'll restart the conversation in the next 15 or 20 minutes at most. Those of our leaders on the high table, please remain on the high table. You will be served on the high table, except if you want to stretch your feet and interact a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a very, absolutely fantastic audience this first session. Thank you so much.